The opportunity to make music with a string section doesn't come along every day, and putting this tour together took a lot of doing, logistically, musically, and just the preparation. It's very different from playing with a band. There's less of a seat of the pants kind of spontaneity with a set list, because string players are playing from arrangements which are predetermined. But there's so much depth and drama and beauty to be found in the music that results that it transports you and it makes the old songs feel new again.
But there is love that makes a cup of tea. Love that loves both who you are and who you want to be. Love that waits for you when you fall behind. That's the kind of love I hope you find. That's the kind of love I hope you find.
I feel like in some ways the strings were the emotional catalyst in our performances on this record. They pulled things out of me vocally that I didn't know were there. And I think Barry, Connor, and Collie felt the same way. You can't help but be moved by the sweep and the flow of the strings, and that affects what and how you play. My favorite thing about performing has always been the interplay between musicians on stage. And with 7 other players to interact with every night, I was in heaven.
Come and wash my sins away.
The venues we played on this tour were some of the best the UK has to offer. I've toured in the UK extensively for 25 years, and the theaters we played on this run were some of my very favorites. We recorded 3 of the shows for the album at the Delaware Pavilion in Bexhill, at St. George's in Bristol, and at the Apex in Bury St. Edmunds. Performances from all 3 venues made the cut, largely due to the expertise of Dom Monks, who was charged with the task of recording 3 separate performances on 3 separate nights in 3 very different sounding rooms and making it all feel cohesive. We were happily on a roll at that point in the tour and had gotten into an easy and joyful state of flow, musically speaking. You look for that confluence of factors when you're recording a live album. You have to try to predict when the band will hit its stride and which venues will sound the best and which will be the most conducive to recording. And then you have to make them all happen at the same time. Everyone, I'm happy to say, was on top of their game.
Good things come, good things go. If it lifts you up, it'll lay you low. People leave and they don't look back. Life is a disappearing act.
There were a lot of highlights. One of my favorite moments every night was the Matador. It was a spontaneous idea to ask Shona Aitken to join the band on this song and improvise a violin part. She stunned us every night with her performance. You can hear the audience hold their collective breath at the end of the song.
My aim was true, my heart was full. I loved the fighter and the bull.
Playing slow ballads with a string section is maybe a predictable pleasure, but songs like Blackbirds are less obvious candidates. Patsy Reed's incredible string arrangement for that song put goosebumps on my skin every single night. The spooky harmonics sound like tree branches scratching on a window, perfectly appropriate and perfectly disturbing.
Uneasy lies ahead, unfaithful is the heart, ungrateful and unlucky and untrue. And no one saw me come, and no one saw me go. Only the blackbirds and you.
On To Say Goodbye, which has always been a start small, end big song, the strings made the big dynamics even bigger and more dramatic.
So draw the curtain, light the lamp now, 'cause I'm not ready to say goodbye. You're not ready to say goodbye. We're not ready.
Working with Shona, Amira, Sarah, and Alice was a total joy. They became part of our road family immediately. And for the first time, the male-to-female ratio in the van was tipped to the female side, which was a lot of fun. We had Prosecco parties, fish and chips on the beach, and a lot of laughs. Our tour manager, Rebecca Kemp, had her hands more than full, herding 8 musicians, but she pulled it off with her usual serenity and competence. Connor McCraner and Cole McLean, who are both brilliant musicians I've been lucky enough to work with for the past few years, were like the musical bedrock we stood on, along with Barry Walsh, my husband and longtime musical partner. Barry also took on the role of co-producer and de facto band leader and kept us on track with the new arrangements, some of which differed quite a lot from the band-only versions. The whole time we were on the road, I was so aware of the privilege it was to play with these musicians every night, and it was really important to me to document it with this live record. We knew from experience that we would have enthusiastic and supportive audiences in the UK, and that's frankly probably the main source of the energy and the joy that we played with. Living through the last 2 years of this pandemic, sifting through these recordings which sounded more and more precious to me the further we got from live music, I became convinced that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can replace the magic of several musicians and several hundred people in a darkened room having a moment together.
And the Southern Pride String Quartet.